Missing someone. Love with all your heart. Missing someone. Love with heart.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel. So this week I have a returning client. She's actually been a client of mine for a few years, and we normally do something very similar. We always brighten up her roots and like reblend everything and get her lighter. But the last time she came in, she told me she wanted to go darker. So right now this is kind of the fade of us going a little bit darker, and in the past before that we've always done like really light silvers or like pastel violets or anything within that range. And so when she told me she wanted to go darker the last time she came in, I was kind of unsure and hesitant to kind of get her too dark. So we pretty much just toned her more so like, I would say like a level 7 overall, just in case she changed her mind. And then of course she came in today and was feeling like she wanted to go back to light. So I was really glad I trusted my gut. I did not throw on like a level 5 gloss on her last time, because if I were to do that, it would have been extremely hard for us to get really blonde today. So whenever I have a client who loves being blonde, we always lift her to about a level 9 and 10, and they're kind of wanting to dip their toes into something darker. I normally will do something in the middle ground. Sometimes they'll show me pictures of brunettes, and sometimes I'll recommend doing like a lighter brunette to kind of feel it out first. And that's what she did. She felt out the lighter side of the brunette and figured that she wanted to stay blonde. So since we didn't do something that was too dark, this is going to be a really easy transition to get her back to light, since we only did that one round of dark toner last time. And then also, since we were trying to go a little bit darker last time, the blend that I did for her was very dimensional, to kind of give her a softer blend and also ease her way into getting darker. But again, she changed her mind, and today we are wanting to kind of go back to where we were before and be lighter. So there is going to be a lot of long roots that we're going to be touching up today, because I left out so much dimension, and then on top of that she just waited quite a long time to do her roots. So this is going to be like a full transformation. Even though it looks like we're just doing the roots, you can see in the back here there is some really long roots that even reach some of the ends that we need to brighten up and just get her back to her blonde self. So I started off and I do 2 detailed hairline foils right around the nape. This is just going to break up the color, so whenever she puts her hair up, you see nice beautiful color. And then also right at the nape, in those 2 foils right there, that is also going to be part of her money piece when she brings her hair forward. So I do like to pay extra attention and detail to that area. And then after I do those 2 weaves, you can see I'm taking a center section, and my sections are pretty thick. And you can see also that I'm carefully weaving out any previous highlights and then just laying the foil right on top. I like to use custom cut foils, especially on dark hair and long hair, because I feel like if I were to fold up the foil on these areas, it would create a pretty uneven lift. So from my experience, I just like to use a custom cut foil cutter to cut my foils to the length of the hair so that it lays flat and we get the most even lift as possible. So even though she has really long roots, I would consider this pretty much like a full balayage, because a lot of these roots back here, and you'll see later as I get towards the top, they're pretty long because we're getting rid of a lot of that dimension and trying to brighten everything up. I would say that this foil placement roughly took me maybe about like 45 minutes maximum to an hour. If I'm not doing tip outs, which for her I'm not doing because she already has some previous blonde and I like the level of the blonde that's out there. I'm not too worried about those areas because they faded out really nicely, but since this is just going to be a standard root with balayage to the ends, I would say that this foil placement took me about 45 minutes to an hour to do everything. So that first bowl that I always mix up whenever I start on anybody is I do a mixture of 6 volume and 20 volume just to kind of dilute my 20 volume, and I am mixing that with a Blonde Me Schwarzkopf lightener, which is my favorite and just go-to lightener for a majority of my clients. But after I do that first bowl of a diluted 20 volume, I just use 20 volume for the rest of the head. I just feel like it gives a really clean, even lift, and I don't have to worry about the product expanding too much or anything like that. I feel like 20 volume is a really safe zone of strength. So since my client is wanting to go lighter, I am going to actively try to pick out the sections that have the longest root. And what that's going to do is it's going to create an illusion that the ends are gradually getting lighter. Here you can see that I am making sure that I pick out any previous highlights and I just move them to the side, and then make sure that I only paint over the pieces that are dark and need lightener. Because she is a returning client, I know what I lifted her before, and majority of my clients, I like to lift them to at least like a level 9 and 10, because I feel like it fades the best, and whenever they want to change their hair color, it's just really easy to work with when they're lifted to that level. I feel like when you lift a client anything lower, it just gets a little bit harder down the line to fight the warmth, but if they're already lifted there, it just makes it a lot easier if they want to go lighter. So as I'm getting closer towards the top, you can see my sections are going to be gradually getting a little bit closer together. And my client here, her texture of hair is more on, I would say, the finer to normal side. It's not super thick at all, so I want to make sure that my sections are thin enough, but I don't have to make them too paper thin because she does have more so fine to normal hair. So I don't have to worry too much that the lightener is not going to lift compared to if her hair was super thick and coarse. So right now I am connecting that top money piece and the sides. Since we did something very dimensional last time and she's wanting more full color and full blonde, I'm just going to slice her front hairline and money piece because this is going to give her the boldest look and just make her feel like she has the most color. But next time when she comes in, sometimes I'll weave that part just depending on how she's looking or how it faded out or how it even grew out and looked around her face. Or sometimes I'll just simply ask my clients if they felt like the money piece was too bold or too chunky, and then that's when I'll weave it versus just slice it. But because everything is so dark right now, I want to just slice everything and get her to feel as blonde as possible. So again, as I'm getting to the sides here, I am again just actively picking out those pieces that have the longest root, and you can see some of them get pretty long. They're like almost down to the ends of her hair, and it's just because it's been so long that she's waited to do her roots. And just in general, from before when she was keeping up her blonde, she would wait quite a while, which is fine. It just kind of creates more of a dimensional look, if anything. So her roots are just extra long today, and that is why we for sure needed to use those long custom foils for her. So now we're moving on to the toner, and for her toner, I always like to do a shadow root because we do slices on her, and I feel like when you do slices, if you don't do a shadow root, it's really easy to see the harshness of the slices. So I always like to do a shadow root to kind of blend all those lines at the top together. So I am using a demi formulation for her shadow root, and my go-to, especially when we're doing slices on really long roots, I like to use a level 6. So I did a level 6 ash, and I just generally use ash because I feel like it just blends everything a lot better together. And then after we did the shadow root, I'm going in with the Pulp-Rite Rapid Toners. We did a formulation of silver, violet, and rose gold. Like I said before, this is a client that I've seen for years, and she just lets me do whatever I want, honestly, as far as toners. So we just did like a really fun custom color for her using those 3 tones to create like a mauve-y pink tone. And I like to apply it to the mids first to kind of get that pigment in there and have that be the brightest part of the hair. And then I like to brush it through and add where it's needed, so that it gives the illusion where the mids are a little bit more vibrant and towards the ends it gets a little bit more pastel-y. When using the warmer tones for the rapid toners, I do like to leave it on for at least like 10 minutes or so to get the full effect of the tone. Alrighty guys, so here is the finished look. You can see the blend is so beautiful, and compared to how she came in, she looks so much lighter and so much brighter. You can see the mids and ends look more solid and less dimensional than when she came in, and picking up all of that dark coming through the mids and ends really made a huge difference to make her look super blonde and pretty. I feel like when this fades out, it's going to fade into a really pretty ash blonde, and then she can honestly just maintain that blonde tone with some purple shampoo at home until her next root appointment. Alrighty guys, that is it for this week's episode. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in, and as always, I will talk to you guys next week.